All right, Pine Belt, we've got a tornado warning in the area. This includes areas to our east. Of course, if we take a close look, this tornado warning is an active warning. So this is something that's just developing as we speak. If we take a look and see how long it's going to be in effect, give me a moment here. There we go. Okay, so this is going to include areas like Jones and Wayne County. Once again, there is an active tornado warning in the Pine Belt at this time. However, you notice that a lot of this is going to be radar indicated. So, from the National Weather Service, we talk about what's going on with the tornado warning, right? You need to make sure that you're in your safe space right now. This includes areas that are just to the east of Myrick and making your way north of like Strangford and Whistler along the US 84 corridor and northward, especially if you're going to be in Waynesboro or areas to its west. So let's take a close look here. Okay, so with this tornado warning, we obviously have a situation here, okay? And if I can pull up the imagery here, if you give me one moment, we'll take a look and see what we got. Okay, so when we look here, if we have a closer look on the radar, you can see where a lot of that heavier rain is going to be. You can see the alerts are coming in here, and as I make sure to, there we go. Okay, so you can see that this is a life-threatening situation. However, with this tornado, I'm not fully convinced that it's on the ground. We're still waiting to see if something's going on here. Okay, so if we take a look at the scan, we want to look on these velocity, basically what triggered this warning. If you look carefully with me, you see those bright colors right there? That's what we're looking for when we look for what's called a couplet, okay? These bright colors can sometimes be an indication of the rotation kind of coming into itself and becoming more organized. And that's right on the Jones County and Wayne County line. Once again, if you're joining me here for this tornado warning, this is going to be recently issued by the National Weather Service. These folks, they're watching a lot of this couplet, if you will, kind of come together. So once again, if you are along the US 84 corridor at the Jones County, Wayne County line and eastward towards Waynesboro, you need to be in your safe space now. If you know someone in this area, make sure to let them know, because this is a developing situation. So a lot of these areas, right, some of these thunderstorms, they can bring quite a punch. You've got the tornado, you've got some heavy rain, maybe even some small hail. I'm seeing some bright reds and pinks here. If you hear a little bit of hail, that's why. It's a lot of, you could see some small hail in the area. At this time, let's see, I'm going to pull up our handy-dandy chat here. Okay, so currently from the National Weather Service, right, they're talking about 1-inch size hail in diameter. That's one of the criteria that we need for a severe thunderstorm. But of course, with this tornado as well, this is a tornado-warned storm. So when you have a tornado-warned storm, this is basically something that we need to, it's radar indicated. It's not necessarily guaranteed that it's on the ground. We don't have any reports that it's on the ground at this time, but we're watching it very carefully because at this time, this tornado warning is going to be in effect until 3:45, okay? So right now, my watch tells me it is 3:07. We've got a ways to go here unless this storm kind of loses steam. Once again, today, it's kind of a low-end severe threat day, but still, sometimes we do have events where even these level 1 risk type days can overachieve a bit, right? And this is exactly what we're seeing here, where we have an environment that's marginally favorable to support some of this stuff. And, well, lo and behold, here we are. Once again, if you're on the Jones County, Wayne County line, you need to be in your safe space now. Let's take a closer look here as I bring up the velocity. Okay, so right now, yes, I see some of those bright colors, but remember, I'm not fully convinced something is happening here. Regardless, this is a decently tight rotation, but it could be a lot more defined. This is a very sloppy storm, and it's not necessarily guaranteed that something's on the ground, but we want to make sure that we are acting as if it is on the ground, right? If you know someone in this community, I'm telling you, if you're in like the Strangford area or Pleasant Grove near Myrick, you notice that basically you want to make sure that you're in your safe space. Whistler, you also need to be on your safe space as we approach Hiwanee and just shy of Shibuda along the US 45 corridor. So Waynesboro, Whistler, all you guys, you want to make sure to get in that closet, that inner room, whatever you need. Of course, something that's helpful, right? Make sure you've got a flashlight. If you've got, make sure, of course, I know a lot of folks, you got your cell phone on you, whatever you need, even closed-toed shoes. If you can do that, if you're in the closet, a good idea is having closed-toed shoes as well. Unfortunately, you can see, if you look carefully, you've got the purpleness there near Hiwanee and Waynesboro on the other side of the river. So basically, we're kind of right in between that zone where we're at the end of the Jackson, Mississippi radar's range and right before we hit some of the range for Mobile. So it's very hard to tell right now since we're in between kind of that almost a dead spot between the two radar sites. Unfortunately, I don't have as clear of a picture at this time as I'd like, but regardless, we don't want to take chances here. This is an active tornado warning once again. If you're just joining me, you can see that the rotation, it's not necessarily the most defined I've seen, but still, we want to pretend as if this is something that is on the ground because we don't want to take any chances with an active tornado warning. Now, one thing I'd be looking for is if I want something that's going to be more well-defined, we'd be looking for a bunch of bright colors here that are really tightly wound, that are really close together, that couple it, as we like to say in meteorology. Regardless, this is something that we're watching very carefully, and you can see even if there's no tornado, there's a lot of heavy rain, possibly some small hail. Some of the reports, or at least some of the preliminary stuff I have from the National Weather Service at this time is indicating that we could see hail as large as approximately 1 inch at this time. So if you are south of Ucutta in Wayne County, as you approach, let's see, is hot coffee out here? Okay, either way, so you've got Ucutta here, Whistler, Hiwanee, all you guys, if you are along the US 84 corridor in Waynesboro or westward particularly, you need to be in your safe space right now. This storm is moving in a kind of east-northeasterly, northeasterly direction at this time. I'm not sure on the entire movement at this time. Let's see if we can get some more information here. Give me one moment. Okay, let's see. So I'm checking some of the information here from the National Weather Service, and I need to see, okay, so this storm at this time, it's about 12 miles east of Laurel, and it's moving northeast, not east-northeast, at approximately 25 miles per hour at this time. So, you know, I know that some of these, okay, so we can see also, you see how the polygon has been modified, right? When it comes to these tornado warnings, a lot of times as the National Weather Service has a better picture or they have a better confidence in a certain area, maybe they will adjust those polygons, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. So once again, if you are west of Waynesboro and along the US 84 corridor and even areas east of the 45-84 interchange as well, if you're going to be along and north of that 84 corridor, you need to be heeding this warning as we speak. Let's see if we have any updates from the National Weather Service. I don't have anything at this time, but if we see this stay kind of sloppy and we have low confidence in what it's going to do, then, you know, there's a chance that they may let this expire, but we've got a ways to go, folks. Unfortunately, okay, you can see here, okay, so with this tornado warning, right, we look for little areas where we have a lack of correlation, if you will, right? It's known as the correlation coefficient. This is what you're looking at. We look for areas where there's a bunch of blue. I'm not seeing that at this time. Again, this is a very messy system. I'm not fully convinced that it's on the ground, but we're going to have to watch for some of those blues on the map if they do indeed appear. It would look almost like a small hole or a divot in the kind of maroon shaded region you see here. But right now, you know, we can't take any chances with this storm, right? With kind of being in that weird middle area between the range of the Jackson and the Mobile radars, we don't have a crystal clear picture. So once again, you know, if you're in this area, you're going to want to make sure to exercise all the caution you need. This is a storm that's moving northeast at approximately 25 miles per hour. Let's see if we got anything else on our velocity scan here? Okay, so you see how we have a couple of here. I mean, obviously this is a rotating storm. You can see where the storm is kind of attempting to do something, if it's doing anything at all. And this is exactly why the National Weather Service has issued this warning, right? They see those colors kind of come together where they look almost like a couplet, where they're almost dancing, if you will, with another. And so basically, that's why they issued this warning. But once again, I'm not seeing a lot of bright colors here, which gives me kind of confidence that, well, you know, it's a rotating storm, but once again, the tornado is not necessarily guaranteed. Regardless, we want to make sure that we're taking this situation we're taking this seriously. Of course, the polygon, you can see there's no more red shaded area near Myrick and areas in Jones County. Originally, when this warning was issued, this included portions of Jones County as well as northern Wayne County there. But regardless, well, they are continuing to see this storm move northeastward. So Jones County, you are in the clear. If you're in like the Myrick community or Powers, any of those sorts of areas, you are okay at this time. We're looking at, if something were there, it's going to be, you know, just west of the Whistler community, north of Strandford, along the US 84 corridor here as we pull up our radar. Okay, so folks, just, you know, it's one of those days where if you're in this area, just sit tight with me. Thank you for joining me here. I know that this is, you know, it's not an optimal situation, but we are here to be with you all of the way until this tornado warning goes away. Of course, if you're just joining us, this tornado warning is currently in effect until 3:45. I'm going to see if we have an update here. Okay. See, once again, you know, technology can be a wonderful thing, right? You can hear the alerts going on in the background. Of course, if you make sure that with severe weather season coming up, right, you want to make sure that you have a game plan. You want to make sure that the alerts are on your WDAM weather app, so that way it's able to notify you when things like this are going on, since we are entering that time of year. But basically, right now, this tornado warning is going to be in effect. I have no sign of it being canceled yet at this time. That's up to the National Weather Service. Okay, here we go. So this is an update. If you notice that, yes, once again, this is a very sloppy radar imagery because we're in between that zone between Mobile and Jackson's radar. But at this time, from the National Weather Service, they're saying that this tornado is on the ground. Once again, this is a confirmed tornado. Now, unfortunately, I can't give you a crystal clear picture because of the radar with some of the range in this area, but areas like Hal Clark Road, Ucuda Road, if you're anywhere closer to Waller Ridge Road, you need to be in your safe place now. This is a northeasterly moving storm towards the community of Hawani and areas just to its south. So if you're familiar with areas like the US 45 corridor there, you're going to want to make sure to get in your safe place now. Once again, this is a tornado that is on the ground, but we don't have a crystal clear picture of it at this time. We're watching it very carefully, and if you're just joining us, this is something that we need to be taking seriously. This is exactly why when we have tornado warnings, right, this is when the National Weather Service has reason to believe that something may be there. But now that we have that white outline where they're saying that a tornado is on the ground, this is why we want to exercise caution in these sorts of times. So you want to make sure that you're in your safe place now. That is absolutely crucial. That innermost room, if you have any sort of an innermost room where you have areas away from windows, that is crucial here for this particular situation. You can see once again that the polygon is going to include areas to the southeast of Ucuda, and of course that's going to include areas Hawani, areas to its south, but north of Waynesboro for the most part primarily. If you're going to be north of the US 84 corridor and you are anywhere west or east of US 45 there, you need to be taking that action game plan now. No, this storm is moving at approximately 25 miles per hour. I know that some of these storms, they can move a lot faster at times. You know, sometimes they'll move at 40 or 50 miles per hour. But still, regardless of speed, you need to make sure that you're exercising your game plan here for severe weather and this particular tornado at this time. If you're just joining me, we do have a confirmed tornado here in Wayne County. Jones County, you are in the clear. If you were joining me at the beginning, you may have noticed that they had portions of Jones County also included there. As I get my cursor here, there we go. So you can see that this is only for Wayne County at this time. We're waiting to see if we get an additional update from the National Weather Service. But basically what's going on here is we have a tornado warning with a confirmed tornado on the ground. You see how it's blinking and we've got those white outlines there. This is something that is confirmed from the National Weather Service. Now, a lot of these tornadoes, right, especially here in the deep south, they tend to be rain wrapped, okay? So it's not going to be very clear cut in being able to see them, nor would I recommend going outside. You want to make sure that you're inside. If you have no other option to go into an interior room, then do not seek shelter in a car. You need to either duck in a ditch or find some sort of area that is in an inner room of a building. If you have a neighbor that has a slab home, make sure that you find your way in or do something that you need to do to take shelter. This is a very dangerous situation at this time because this tornado warning, once again, is a confirmed tornado on the ground. Things like flying debris, right? That can be very dangerous to those that get caught in these sorts of storms. This is a radar-confirmed tornado in Wayne County, okay? This is a developing situation. Let's see if we can pull up our velocity. See, you can see that the couplet there, you can see it's there, but it's once again, this is a very messy, we don't have crystal clear imagery because of the difference in the radar sites. You can see how we switch between Jackson and Mobile here. If you look carefully, we've got Jackson's radar here and Mobile's radar there. We're right in that kind of fringe where we don't have a crystal clear picture of this tornado. Regardless, this is a confirmed tornado according to the National Weather Service. You need to be in your safe place. If you are north of US 84, this is a dangerous situation at this time. You can see a lot of the pinks are still showing up just west of the river there in Hiwanee. If you're going to be in the Hiwanee community, north of Waynesboro at all, north of 84, this is a dangerous situation. Once again, you need to be in your safe place now. We're waiting to see if we can get any sort of better coverage at this time in terms of the imagery, but this is some of the best that we've got at this time. Let's see if we can pull up. Okay, so I had to get a drink of water there. Okay, so now that we're good, let's take a look at our imagery here. So once again, if you are in Wayne County, you can see where a lot of the bright pinks are showing up. Even the storm to its north there, a lot of bright pinks there showing up on the radar. This is either very heavy rain or even small hail. Now remember too, when it comes to some of these storms, some of the hail, you can have hail fall and it's not considered a severe thunderstorm. However, this particular storm in Wayne County, not only is it a severe thunderstorm because of the tornado, but also the potential for hail. So regardless of what's going on here, you want to make sure that you're in your safe place. This is a dangerous storm that is moving northeast through the northern fringes of Wayne County as it sort of approaches the southern extent of Clark County there. So areas, let's see, we've got Waynesboro here, Whistler. Okay, so if you are in Waynesboro proper, if you are south of US 84 in Waynesboro, you are in the clear. Once again, you are not in the polygon. But if you are anywhere north of Waynesboro, along or north of the US 84 corridor, this is something that is a developing situation. You need to find your safe place and just stick it out with me here for a few minutes. I know that this is not easy, but once again, we are here for you and we will make sure to keep you informed every step of the way until this tornado warning expires. Let me see if we have any updates from the National Weather Service here. So at this time, let's see, okay. So I don't have any updates for this particular tornado warning from the National Weather Service at this time, but we are standing by to see what is going on. Once again, if you are just joining us, this is an active tornado warning where a tornado is reported to be on the ground. Now, I don't have a lot of other information for you at this time, but regardless, we will be standing by and sticking with you until this tornado warning is over for Wayne County. Now, of course, with this northeasterly movement, you can see that the storm is in kind of the northern fringes of Wayne County here. So, if the National Weather Service feels that it is justified for the warning to continue, then they will continue this warning. But I have no word of that continuing at this time. Once again, you can see, let's see if I can pull up a cursor for you. Let's see. Okay, so basically, if we look ever so carefully here, I'm going to see if I can find my drawing tool here. Oh, here we go. This is even better. So, okay, so you see this purple stuff here. That's called range folding on radar. And basically what that means is that eventually after a point, the radars can only be effective to a certain point in terms of range. So basically, right there in Hawani, Whistler, Waynesboro, we're right where the Mobile and Jackson radar sort of converge. And, eventually you reach a point in between these radars where we don't have as good coverage because the radar doesn't have as good of a return in terms of its imagery farther out, whereas you have a better picture when you're closer in. Okay, so we now have an update from the National Weather Service. They still say that this tornado is on the ground, and I have reason to believe them at this time. This is something that should be taken seriously. You can see that, unfortunately, I don't have very good quality imagery here for you just because of the radar being so far away from this site. But regardless of what's going on, this is something that you need to be on your safe place now. If you are north of US 84 and anywhere along the US 45 corridor, if you're west or east of it, this is something that is going on at this time. This is a tornado on the ground according to the National Weather Service. You can see that white outline there in the area. We're waiting to see if we can get anything here. Let's see. We'll pull up our reflectivity here. This includes areas, if you are going to be to the south of Shibuda-Yukata Road, especially, and areas, we've got Waynesboro-Shibuda Road, and of course areas north of US 84. Now, when it comes to this tornado warning, once again, this is a tornado that is on the ground here in northern Wayne County. If you're in Yukata, you are okay. However, Haiwani and areas nearby, if you are north of Whistler or if you are anywhere west or east of Haiwani, even areas, if you're in Shibuda, I know that that's not in Wayne County, but you need to be on standby as well for that particular area. This could include portions of Clark. If we continue to see this trend where the storm stays fairly potent and we have the tornado warning continuing, then the National Weather Service will give us new polygons. That's basically that red shaded area you see on your screen here. We will see if any of that develops in the meantime. But basically, if you're going to be anywhere, if you are west of US 45, you can see the storm here is not far west of US 45 and the Wayne-Clark County line. This is going to be for, you can see it's about almost due east of Yukata at this time if it's going to be there, which at this time we have reason to believe that this is a tornado on the ground. Now, unfortunately, once again, this couplet is not very well defined. Normally, if we have a tornado that's going to be going on and it's closer to the radar site, then typically we see a lot of bright colors on the map that make a very defined couplet. But with this particular tornado that's being reported on the ground by the National Weather Service, we do not have a crystal clear picture. But if it's going to be there, you can see where the difference in colors there, the greens when compared to the red, that's the difference in the direction that the winds are doing compared to the radar site over there in Jackson. So when you have a difference of the winds, it is very clear that the storm is rotating. But remember, when we have rotating thunderstorms, not all of them will guarantee a tornado warning. It's when they rotate enough and become more defined and more tightly wound, let's say, that's when we see some of these particular tornado warnings get issued, and especially like right now where a tornado is on the ground. Of course, this is according to the National Weather Service, but I do not have any other information at this time from them. I'm waiting to see if we get a new update. Normally they keep us updated every few minutes, and once again, I know that this is not an easy situation, but we will be standing by with you every step of the way until this tornado warning has expired for the Pine Belt. You can see if we look carefully, we're kind of alternating between Jackson's radar here and Mobile's radar there. We're literally on the fringe here, but you notice if we look carefully, if we can, there we go. So you see how we have those bright colors there. I know it's not as crystal clear as I'd like, but if you are anywhere due west of Haiwani, or if you're just to the south of Haiwani, or if you're in Haiwani proper, you need to be in your safe place. This will be there in a matter of minutes. this particular tornado warning is scheduled to continue for the next 15 minutes, I believe, at least. Let's take a look and see if we have any updates on our guy here. Okay, so at this time, this tornado warning, once again, is set to continue until at least 3:45. We're waiting to see if there will be any further updates from the National Weather Service. Part of the thing that we look for, right, not only do we kind of alternate between the two radar sites here in Jackson and Mobile, but we're also going to be dealing with the change in offices that issue these warnings. So as we do so, obviously both of these offices in Mobile and Jackson are watching it just as carefully as we are, and we're going to have to wait and see kind of what happens as this storm approaches the state line over in Alabama. So I will clear away that little icon for you. We're just going to have to, we're going to have to sit tight for a moment here and see what kind of happens there. As we pull up the imagery here, I'll get your reflectivity for the rain. So with a lot of this heavy rain, once again, a lot of these downpours, you may have brief downpours at times, maybe some small hail. I have not heard otherwise from the National Weather Service in Jackson quite yet. But typically when we see a lot of those deep reds and pinks, there is that potential for either very heavy rain or small hail. Regardless, this is an active tornado warning. We want to make sure that we're going to just kind of sit tight until this warning expires. So, okay. At this time, I'm not seeing any further updates, which I'm hoping is a good sign. Typically, when the National Weather Service gets a little quiet, it typically means they're kind of waiting to see if this storm becomes a little less defined. Of course, they're kind of figuring this out at the same time I am, especially with the radar imagery being in between the two radars, I hate to say, it's in between the two radars area where you have a little bit of a hole where it's a little harder to tell what the imagery is telling us. And when all we have is radar, I'm not seeing any reports at this time, any further reports. Typically, sometimes we'll get reports from the National Weather Service or emergency management officials or other folks on this particular messaging service that we have. And basically, we wait to see if anything else materializes. Now, currently, I'm not seeing at this time, but basically this is something that we're going to have to watch very carefully in the region. Let's see here. Okay. So, once again, if you're just joining me, this is a tornado warning that's active in the area. This is a tornado that is, according to the National Weather Service, it is on the ground, but we haven't gotten any updated polygons. That's that red shaded area you see on the screen. I am waiting to see if we have any further updates at this time, but regardless, we have approximately 15 minutes to go if this warning were to be allowed to expire instead of renewed. Now, if you are in northern Wayne County, once again, this is a very sloppy type setup where it's very hard to tell whether or not we have something that's still on the ground. Now, according to the National Weather Service, though, you can see that white outline there. They're telling us that a tornado is on the ground, but they have the same imagery that you see here for the most part, right? When we're looking at this imagery, we look to see if there's bright colors. You can see some of the bright colors here just west of Hiwanee, those kind of bright, almost oranges, if you will, as well as some of the green. But even then, I have a very good reason to believe that's exactly what they're looking at, because you can see that that's in the middle of that polygon, that shaded region with the white and red outline for Wayne County. But regardless of whether or not this tornado is on the ground, remember, we can have tornado warnings that can even continue even after the tornado lifts or if a tornado doesn't touch down at all. Regardless, at this time, we do have reports that supposedly the tornado is on the ground. I'm waiting for further confirmation, but we just have to make sure to sit tight for the next 20 to 30 minutes or so as of now. Now, you can see that as we kind of look at Jackson and Mobile's imagery here, we're kind of alternating between the two radar sites. So when it comes to radar, right, a lot of these tornadoes if they're going to touch down on the ground, well, that means that you need a low elevation scan. But a lot of these radars, they start at a very low elevation because that tower is based off the ground. But the beam that gives us that imagery, let's say, it rises with height. So the areas that you're looking at here with a lot of these scans with the tornado warning out there in Wayne County, it's looking very high into the clouds. Whereas if we need to see a tornado really well, we'd need to be looking a bit lower to see whether or not something is going on. But regardless, right here in Mississippi, we're all too familiar that typically a lot of these setups can be kind of sloppy, especially this particular storm when it comes to tornado warning. So if you're in Hiwanee and your areas, especially along the river there and US 45, you're going to want to make sure to basically exercise your game plan. You can see that some of the bright colors do remain, but it's very hard to see a crystal clear image with the radar imagery that we have at this time. Once again, this is a confirmed tornado warning at this time, but we have roughly 10 minutes until it is set to expire, and I do not have any updates at this time. I'll see if we can get anything from the National Weather Service here. So what I'm doing, normally when we look for these types of warnings, right, we talk with the National Weather Service, kind of coordinate with them with these types of situations. But, if they're not saying anything, sometimes, it can be a good sign. So we're just kind of waiting to see whether or not this warning will be allowed to expire. It's a very hard decision for all of us right now. Obviously, we're just kind of waiting to see what they do next. Let's see here. Okay, so what I just did, I sent a message to the National Weather Service. I'm waiting to hear back from them in a moment. And of course, we will see whether or not they have any sort of decisions so far on this tornado warning in Wayne County. Once again, this is a confirmed tornado as of now. It's not exactly crystal clear on the entire setup here, but you can see where some of the brighter colors are. If I pull out my little arrow pointer here, you can see, bloop, there you go. So basically, we're looking at the bright colors here, but regardless, with some of the range of the radar, we don't have an excellent kind of scan of our atmosphere at the lower levels, which is kind of what we need for something like this tornado. So it's going to be just one of those things where exercising the utmost caution in this type of situation is the most important thing at this time. Let's see here. So, okay, let's see if we have any updates. Okay. All right, I don't have any updates from the National Weather Service at this time. I think they're still working on deciding what they're going to do. I will see if we have anything from Mobile. Let's see here. Okay. All right, so right now we've got somebody at the National Weather Service. He's working on deciding what's going on here. I know that this is something that it's not easy, right? But once again, this tornado warning expires at 3:45. That's 9 minutes from now. So at this time, we're waiting to see if any sort of renewal comes in. But right now, we have yet to see any sort of new polygon or areas that kind of outline where this tornado warning is. So, this is something that, we're just going to have to watch until it exits the Magnolia State here. Right now, movement is still at 25 miles an hour to the northeast. So, this is something that we're going to make sure that we're going to watch every step of the way once again. Let's see if I can get my camera tool here. There we go. So if we take a look at the radar here, you can see a lot of the pink still showing up. You can see where a lot of that heavy rain, even small hail, areas like Hiwanee there, as you make your way out towards the east, approaching the Clark County line just south of Shibuda on US 45. They are most certainly getting some heavy rain or small hail at this time. Let's see here. Okay, so I basically I have an update from the National Weather Service. They're saying that basically they are expecting it to probably stay in Wayne County just shy of the southeastern Clark County line. They're holding off on a tornado warning for now, but they're saying that there's a possibility that that they're watching it very carefully at this time, because basically some of these storms, right? If you've ever heard the term cycling, right? You think of a cycle, you think of let's say the life cycle, right? Or any sort of cycle. You picture a circle. So when it comes to a circle, a life cycle, if you will, these storms can have a life cycle where they kind of go through different full evolutions of life many different times. So we're waiting to see if that next cycle happens before the Alabama state line, but we're not entirely 100% on another tornado warning for now. If they're not 100% on it occurring, then we may be okay, and they may let it expire at 3:45 prior to entering the Alabama state line. But regardless, we are watching this situation very carefully with them. They will be keeping me informed as we work through this. So I know that this is, I get it, folks. I really do. It's that time of year. We just want to make sure that we're staying weather aware, because I know that we have some storms that have been, overachieving for today, but we're going to see a lot more activity tomorrow. That is Saturday. If you're just joining us, we do have a first alert weather day for tomorrow. That is Saturday, where we have some more severe weather potential in the area. So it's going to be a very busy day there. I assure you, we will be here every step of the way to help you guys out. But it's one of those days, folks, where we just have to exercise the utmost caution for today and tomorrow as well. Okay, now that I got my sip of water under my belt, we will take a look and see what's going on here. Okay, so base velocity. Yeah, you can see, basically the hardest part with some of these warnings, not only with the imagery not being crystal clear, but the National Weather Service that issues these warnings, right? They look and see if that sort of couplet with the different bright colors sort of stick around. And there's a possibility that even if we do see something kind of happen, right, it may not necessarily be guaranteed that something is still on the ground, right? When it comes to some of these storms, especially when they're sloppy or not well defined, you can have rain-wrapped storms and rain-wrapped tornadoes, if you will, that can be very brief and short-lived, all things considered there. But regardless, we are going to be watching it until we watch the warning expire, if it is allowed to expire 5 minutes from now. Once again, if you're looking at the polygon here, you notice there you go. So you can see that this tornado warning, once again, is expected to expire 4 minutes from now if we allow it to do so. But, I know this is not an easy situation, folks. We are here with you. Currently, the estimated hail size is anywhere from approximately 3/4 of an inch to an inch in diameter or smaller as of now. Let's see. Okay, so basically right now, once again, this tornado warning, we're not getting anything from the National Weather Service that has any sort of suggestion that they're going to extend this warning for now. You can see that even with some of the colors there on your map, all things considered, we don't have a well-defined rotation at this time. I mean, there is a rotation, but you don't necessarily, you can have a rotating storm, a rotating thunderstorm, if you will. That doesn't necessarily mean that a tornado is present anymore. But once again, this is something that we want to make sure that we're sticking with you until this warning expires approximately 3 minutes from now. This warning is not expected to extend into Clark County at this time, but at this time, basically, we're just going to be watching it very carefully until it expires there. Let's see here. So basically, this is, and I know that this includes areas of Haiwani, but as it makes its way east of US 45 there and approaching MS 510 there, you can see that this is going to be primarily rural areas as you make your way east of US 45, but regardless, this is something that we can go ahead with. Okay, so now we have a new tornado warning in effect. Now this is different from the tornado warning prior, and basically the tornado warning that was prior was confirmed on the ground. We don't